The news first hit on Sunday that there was a collision involving a couple of cars that became a 6-car pileup in Dallas. 2 sports cars involved. Police believed they were street racing. One of them registered to Rashee Rice. It now comes out via NBC5 in Dallas that Rice had leased a Lamborghini that was involved in a alleged street race with a Corvette that sparked the 6-car collision. And there's still an open question as to who was actually driving. There are photographs of men walking away from the scene. That's the problem here. Here's the video from WFAA of the actual collision. There go the 2 cars weaving in and out of traffic, and there's the collision. Looks like street racing to me, and there are some new laws in Texas regarding the consequences of street racing. The bigger problem for Rice, if he was driving, is leaving the scene of an accident involving injury. That video is going to be very telling. They're going to pick that apart frame by frame, who's getting out of that Lamborghini and from what side.
Is that the car there? That's what I wasn't sure. Like
the Lamborghini. It's the SUV. It's the Urus.
That one.
The Lamborghini
Gotcha.
Urus.
Yes. Gotcha. Right. But you're right. They're going to dissect that, clearly. And clearly it's 2 people racing down the highway, and one got, I'm losing, and I'm going to go in between these 2 cars and try to fit through there, and they didn't fit. So you're right. This video right here is going to be closely watched.
Watch the Lamborghini right there.
Yeah.
They both get out on the passenger side. There's clearly somebody driving. I don't know that either of those guys is Rashee Rice. But this is the issue. The car's registered to him. The lawyer from the company that owned the car that leased it to Rice said under the lease agreement he's required to be driving. That doesn't mean he is driving.
Right.
That doesn't mean he was driving.
Right.
And I did some research under Texas law to see if there's like a presumption that the person to whom the car is registered is driving. Because if you have, here's the hypothetical that may or may not happen here. If you have, and people are saying the guy on the right is on the right in the
with
black
the red
t-shirt
do-rag on his hair.
Because there's a picture of him earlier in the day with family, and it looks like it's the same t-shirt. So let's say those 4 guys all came out of the Lamborghini.
Yeah, it certainly looks like him there on the right.
If none of them will talk to police, and no one is required to talk to police. Now, I guess what you can say is we're only going to charge 1 guy, so the other 3, they still have a right against self-incrimination. That's a problem, even if you're not charged. If you were possibly driving, you don't have to say anything. You can invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege, and if nobody says anything, how do they ever prove beyond a reasonable doubt who was actually driving the car? That's the challenge, because if you're driving and you leave the scene, the potential criminal sanctions are much greater than just being in the car. I don't think you have any responsibility for just being in the car unless you're doing something to distract the driver.
His only responsibility would be to follow through with the Lamborghini lease that he wasn't driving the car, and he'll have to get in trouble for that. But that's about it.
But that's not something he's going to go to jail for.
Right.
And like if he wasn't driving and he's supposed to be driving and somebody else is driving and crashes it, you got some potentially significant expense as it relates to repairing the Lamborghini.
Right.
But this isn't something that, it's like 1 to 5 years in prison for leaving the scene of an accident involving injury. That's where this becomes a problem for whoever was driving. The challenge for the police is to prove that someone was driving, whoever that someone may be. The police reportedly suspect it was Rashee Rice, but they're going to have to prove it. Rashee Rice had not talked to police, and as of last night, he still hasn't. He has hired Royce West to represent him. He's a prominent lawyer in that area. He said on behalf of Rashee Rice, this is from a statement released yesterday, his thoughts are with everyone impacted by the automobile accident on Saturday. Rashee is cooperating with local authorities and will take all steps necessary to address this situation responsibly. Now, local authorities would dispute that he's cooperating because as of last night, they still haven't talked to him. And I look at that word responsibly, like from whose perspective? The responsible way to handle it from his perspective is to say not a damn word to anyone. I invoke my right against self-incrimination. anything I say can and will be used against me. I'm not saying anything. You have to prove I was driving. Remember the Henry Ruggs case when that happened in 2021?
Right.
There was a period of time where there was a theory in the legal community in Nevada that maybe the argument was going to be you can't prove Henry Ruggs was driving because there was a passenger in the car. And you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt all elements of the crime. And that was kind of out there for a little while. It never went anywhere, and he ultimately took responsibility for the situation. But how do you prove, when you got 2, 3, 4 people in a car, how do you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that one of them was driving? That video becomes critical, but all we see, it looks like a couple of people getting out of the passenger side and possibly Rashee Rice getting out of the passenger side. That black T-shirt, it looks like the person
let's see that again, right? Because I never saw that picture that we showed the second time, right? The picture that we showed where the guy with the red bandana or do-rag there, right? You see him. That was the first time I'd seen that. So let's see the video again if we can at the end there.
The video of the crash.
Yeah, right. And see exactly where he steps out of the car.
6:24 p.m.
And
it's good to have these devices on your car. I mean, there is no doubt about what happened.
I think about it all the time. I have it on my, because the Tesla has it, and you're right. I think about it all the time. Like, thank God I have this, because I see somebody driving like a jerk, and I'm always like, yep. So you see that side, right there? He goes, yeah, there he is. That's it. So he's out of that side too. Now, hey, listen, I don't know. Is somebody smart enough to just crawl over the passenger, the middle console?
That was too quick.
Right? But that would be pretty quick, right?
That's too quick.
There's a few things that I think, one, thank God nothing happened, right? I mean, thank God that for that kind of racing that it wasn't fatal for somebody, right? I mean, one of the innocent bystanders, whatever, right? I mean, for street racing on a highway, that was about as lucky as you can get for an accident, at least in my view and things I've seen in my lifetime and videos and all that. So, thank God for that. They've caused the most problems for themselves and Rashee Rice for himself by fleeing the scene. That's just where you're just like, damn, if you just stayed there and, the cops came and you said you were driving, or, hey, my friend was driving, we would not be talking about this right now. We wouldn't. We would have heard a report that, hey, Rashee Rice got, picked up and he might have got brought down to the local, police station because he was racing too fast on the highway. But that's would have been about it. Now it's opened up a can of worms here of look at, Sims and Florio are doing Inspector Gadget stuff over here trying to figure it out, and everybody's going to be talking about it now because of this.
It's two separate issues. The street racing in and of itself is something that puts people in serious potential jeopardy. It's no different than DUI. It is a misuse of the highway. It is people operating their vehicles in a way they should not with other vehicles around. It shows no regard for the property or the lives of the others
more important.
Involved.
Right.
Somebody could have died.
Right.
And as of Sunday night, somebody was still in the hospital. So it's not like there were no injuries. Mark Donovan,
I didn't mean it like that. I wasn't trying to be
talking about it.
Yeah,
I'm not trying. I'm just making sure that we all understand the context. But from their own personal perspective, yes, if they had just stayed there and accepted the responsibility and not walked away, you don't have this different feel to it. There's a feeling to it that they weren't responsible. There's an irony in the statement from the lawyer that he's going to act responsibly because the responsible thing to do, we all know this, when you are in any type of an accident, what's the first thing you do? You exchange insurance information with the other person. That's how it works. You don't leave the scene of an accident. You don't drive away. You don't leave on foot and just leave your car there. Are you kidding me? That's what gives this a vibe that just feels ugly.
Right.
It feels improper. It feels irresponsible. And it makes you wonder, I mean, the first thing I think when people leave the scene of an accident on foot, how drunk was the driver?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I think.
Right.
Now, there's no suggestion that there was any alcohol or other substances involved here, but that's the first thing I think when someone walks away from the scene of an accident. They don't want to be tested. They don't want to be sobriety test, breath test, blood test, whatever the jurisdiction requires.
Sure.
You go away, and by the time they find you, you're sober again.
Yeah.
That's what I always think. And that's why there's laws against leaving the scene of an accident.
Of course, yes, right. I'm with you there. That's where my mind goes. Again, as an ex-football player who, hey, I was young and dumb and did stupid things, and I get that. I had friends that were like that too. And no doubt. When I first heard the story, I thought the same type of things. Oh, man, did he have a drink? Oh, man, was there liquor in the car? Oh, man, did somebody have some weed, in a backpack or whatever? And they were like, damn, we got to get out of here. Those are all those type of things that you wonder about, right? So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. But he's certainly got some issues he's going to have to deal with here. We know that. And, yeah, Kansas City Chiefs, receiver position. We know that's, kind of been an issue with the Chiefs the last few years. Rashee Rice seems like he's on, that trajectory of being kind of the guy for the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's the last thing they want to deal with. And, of course, this is not what he wants to deal with in his young career here.
I was talking last night to someone from another team, just mainly out of curiosity as to how this works as it relates to league discipline or team discipline. If there is some issue that sticks to Rashee Rice, it's an open question as to whether the team has the ability to act or whether this is a personal conduct policy matter. One thing I know is only one punishment can be applied to the player. So once the team decides to do something, if it does anything, the league can't. If the league does something, the team can't. I think a lot of this just depends on what potential violations of the personal conduct policy might have happened here. If he wasn't driving, I don't know what violations of the personal conduct policy there might have been. So that's where it's just a separate from the criminal investigation that is trying to get to the bottom of the street racing, the leaving the scene. Then there's what the team will do, what the league will do. Yeah.
Somebody jumped over the middle console, right? That to me is something. Nobody got out of the driver's seat. Nobody got out. Somebody was smart enough in the car to go, let's go that way, so they're not going to know.
Or just stayed there.
Or maybe they stayed.
I think if we watch it, it happened so fast. I don't think anybody in that situation has the presence of mind to think, I better get out. There might be a camera on the car in front of me. Like, how do you even know you're being videotaped?
Well, because it's 2024. That's the point. There's always a videotape.
Big Brother's everywhere. These guys are all of us.
And again, this is where football players and myself, football players they can think pretty quick on their toes in little instances like this. But, yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. It's only three people, right?
Are both doors open?
Both doors on the right side are open there, right? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see it pieced together. Like I said, I'm just glad nobody was seriously, really fatality injured, all of that. I hope, prayers to the person in the hospital still as of Sunday. We know that. But, damn, yeah. Come on. That's just one of those where you as a father who's 43 years old and has a daughter who's, starting to drive here, where you just want to go to Rashee Rice. Come on, man. You got too much in front of you. Life is good. It's only going to get better. Stay on the straight and narrow. There's no point in racing somebody, down the street in a car, which I saw things online too, Mike, that people thought maybe the Corvette was also Rashee Rice's here. So they might both be cars here.
And he owns... Right. And he owns one and leases the other. Gotcha. So it's just him and his friends. We're going to go out racing on the Dallas streets tonight.
Right.
Because there's photographs of Rashee Rice heading off to the Super Bowl driving a Corvette that apparently looks a lot like the Corvette that is right there in that crash. There he goes off to the Super Bowl back on February 5. Now, there are plenty of black Corvettes out there, but it's entirely possible that he owns or leases both of them. We know he's leased the Lamborghini according to the company that owns the Lamborghini. It's possible that he owns the Corvette too. And that's where the street racing laws have been beefed up in Texas. The police can confiscate and sell cars involved in street racing.
Wow.
And, for the people who have really nice, fast, expensive cars, that's like their life. You take away their car and sell it, that's a hell of a deterrent for street racing. It could be that both those cars are gone, that Rashee Rice is going to have to buy a new Lamborghini Urus for the company that owned it, and if that Corvette was something he had separately bought, that may be gone too.
Wow, yeah, I didn't know about that one. That's a new wrinkle that I've first time I've ever heard that one, that they could take your car. But yeah, that'll make you think twice about street racing. Either way, Chiefs got a little problem on their hand here. Be interested to see what the league does here. It's going to be interesting to see how Rashee Rice and his crew and the lawyer handle the whole situation, and we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I mean, not a good look. Not a good look for him right now, and a young guy that you hope learns from this situation.
And I guess that street racing has been a big enough problem in Texas that they had to do something to beef up the laws.
It's becoming one everywhere.
They'll take over.
Yeah.
They'll take over a street and have races on the street.
Right. Yeah, it's becoming a thing.
Like Greece.
Everywhere.
Like Thunder Road in Greece.
Yeah, it is. It's a problem in the Northeast here, in Jersey and everything like that. We had some of we knew and was help my family. Right, a young lady who's 18 years old, and she went out with her friends street racing and all of that, snuck out of the house late at night, right? And they were going to go meet somewhere with all the kids in street race or whatever, and that car got in an accident, and she passed away, right? So it's a real problem going on everywhere in the country right now, and needs to be cracked down on.
By the way, Grease holds up very well. The movie with John Travolta.
I don't know about that. That's challenge.
It holds up very well.
Right.
No, it's one of those movies, because there were movies that they made in the 70s and 80s that you watch them now and you're like, oh, why did I ever like that? You go back and watch Grease again, if you ever did watch it before. Anybody out there that watched Grease and enjoyed it in 1978 or so when it came out, it still holds up, and it's still fun to watch. And at the end, they do have. I'm not sure
about that one. That's one I'm not sure I'm going to go back and watch. And I've watched it before, right? I mean, yes, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to buy into that.
It's
one.
just it's corny, but it's fun. It's just fun. You always say I hate fun. Grease is fun. It's fun.
Is 78? That was when that movie was? I thought that was earlier than that. Yeah, okay. I don't know why I
78, 77 at the earliest.
Okay.
Yeah, 78, 77. Travolta had Saturday Night Fever and then Grease.
Oh,
and that was
you should do that. You could pull off that look, slick your hair back like that, put on a black T-shirt, get the cigarette box and twist it up in your shirt, right? I could see you pulling off that look. You should try that out.
My toupee might come loose, the oil. And I can understand the attraction of street racing. I mean, I'm closing in on 59. I got this Audi down the steps.
Everybody likes to drive fast. I know.
I'll go.
I got a heavy foot.
Let's go race. You want to race? Where you want to meet?
Yeah.
I'll beat that Tesla. I mean, that's human nature. We like to go fast.
Oh.
From the time we learn how to ride a bike,
right,
we want to go fast.
No doubt.
We always want to go fast. You got to resist that. That's what you do. There's that word responsible again. The responsible thing to do is resist the temptation to do that, especially under a setting where somebody else could get injured.
I got a heavy foot. I understand. Yeah.
I will admit from time to time, if I'm on an open stretch of road and there's no other cars around, I will maybe,
step on it.
Violate.
Yeah, you don't have to ask me. I'm known for that in my family. I am literally the guy who's like, oh, there's an open stretch of road. Watch out. Dad's about to step on it.
Why does I mean, I know I'm alone in the car, so there's nobody else who would get injured if I would, make a bad move and flip the thing. But why do they make the speedometer go up to 200 miles an hour? That's entrapment. Like, I think there was a time when, back in the 70s, when the speed limit was 55 nationally.
Yeah.
For a long time, the speed limit was 55.
It's still here. In the Northeast, we can't get a damn highway that's above 55. And I'm like, with the modern car, I mean, the damn cars can go in reverse 55 now and be safe. Like, can we just speed it up a little bit in the Northeast?
But back in the 80s, the cars would peg out at 85.
Yeah, right. I do remember that.
Cars. I had a Ford.
Right.
I had a Ford where it maxed out at 85. You had no idea how fast you were going above 85 miles an hour, which takes a lot of the, I don't want to say fun, but the whole idea is the dial goes to 200. Not that I want to drive 200, but if I'm going 1/3 of the capacity of the speedometer, you kind of feel like you're not doing justice to the car. So again, this is that nature that we have.
We all got
to go fast.
Right.
But What they were doing on Saturday,
that's another level,
is highly irresponsible.
Exactly.
It's highly irresponsible because it jeopardizes others. It's one thing if you're going to jeopardize yourself and nobody else, open stretch of road, nobody else around, that's one thing. If you're going to do that stuff, weaving in and out of traffic, we were somewhere not that long ago, and there was a guy on a motorcycle who was shooting the gaps between cars. It's like, well, the only person he's probably going to kill is himself.
Is himself, for sure.
But it's crazy to see that kind of behavior.
Yeah,
crazy.
No, it is. It's totally crazy. You're right. And listen, I get people like that. That is one of the things, you brought up the Tesla, right? I got that Model X with the wings or whatever. But that is something that does happen to me. And listen, I drive fast, and I'm a pretty aggressive driver, so I'm not going to try to sit here and act like I'm Mr. Perfect here in that department. But I do have a lot of people, because I have that car, they want to race me, right? I'll look over and I'll be like, oh, this person's racing me, and I have no idea. I'm just driving, and I want to be like, I want to roll down my window and like, if I knew I was racing you, I'd blow by your car. I'd have put it in insanity mode and see you later, right? But yeah, you got to fight those urges. There's no doubt about it. And with the cars becoming more powerful and easier to control and all of that, yeah, you worry about that, especially with, when I was younger. Like I said, yeah, I wasn't afraid to be a little more aggressive and stupid. You just think you're invincible when you're at the age of 24 and 25.
See, I don't want an electric car. I want a car that has that rumble to it. I was telling Mike,
move on with the times. Gas is bad. It's ruining our planet. Move on with the times. And your gas car can't even, you have no chance in a race against me and my Tesla. So you want to win. Don't you like winning? Don't you like winning? See, we're explaining how Rashee Rice gets in a race, right? They were in the house. They're like, "Are you kidding me? You think the Lamborghini could beat the Corvette?" Right, but that doesn't mean you should do what he did, and we're not going to do that either.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.